Good morning and good afternoon. Thank you all very much for attending today's webcast. Today we're featuring a couple of really amazing technologies. Our production coach software that actually won the Challengers Award at IWF Great Honor. We'll also cover today what I think of as a companion product to it. Actually grew from being a module into a full product called Planning Assistant, helping you with scheduling and capacity planning. I always find it interesting when I do these webcasts that sometimes people attending don't know anything about the technology. Others may even actually own and operate it and have ran it for some time. So I'll do my very best to make the information good for all that attend, but just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. Please do use the questions section for anything that you might want to ask. Frankly, if I see that there's a relevant question, I may even stop in the middle of what's going on to answer, but otherwise I'll make sure nearer the end of the webcast that we have covered all of your questions. So with that said, I just want to welcome you. Thank you again for attending, and want to just take a brief moment to introduce to you a little bit more about what we've been doing at RSA Solutions. Not only have we been focused on software for the woodworking industry, but we have also been doing our best to transform our business model to be helping and blessing our customers in a number of ways. And I just want to take a couple of minutes to cover a few of those with you. You'll see here under Business Solutions, the first one happens to be ERC tax credits. And I'm not sure where everybody sits on that, but it's not going to hurt you to hear this. We have helped hundreds and hundreds of businesses be able to obtain maximum ERC tax credits up to $26,000 per W-2 employee. Frankly, not only have we grown in expertise on this program, which is highly complicated, while it is part of the CARES Act, the third leg of it, along with PPP and EIDL, it's really over 200 pages of tax code written by congressional attorneys that has now changed for the 5th time. So if you've been told before you can't qualify, don't listen. If you think that because your revenue went up, you can't qualify, don't listen. Even if your favorite CPA has told you that they don't think you can qualify, don't listen. All you have to do is click directly and you'll find the solution is easily findable from our website. Down from solutions to employee retention credit, click and schedule a call, and I will do a personal one-on-one call with you. And I'll explain to you not only how the program works, but how you can qualify. And I have a high level of confidence about that after helping hundreds of companies in our industry literally get tens and tens of millions of dollars. So anyway, something for you to be aware of that RSA Solutions is helping. Also, you'll notice the next one here says health insurance and employee benefits, something that you may not be aware of, but is something I believe worth noting. First of all, Allstate, extremely well known on the voluntary benefit side, actually purchased last year National General for health insurance, and as of January 1, will now be marketing that as Allstate Health. And so they're really they're making a really big push to take significant market share, and it just so happens that RSA Solutions has been approved as a Allstate's benefits provider in all 50 states and Canada. And so I can only tell you a few things. I believe that very few are really super thrilled with what they have. They always feel like it's too expensive or whatever you might say. There may not be a great level of loyalty to what you have. Maybe it's worth taking a look to see what it is that we can do for you. And I'll tell you, in a very tough job market, you might be surprised, even if you stuck with what you've got for a health plan, just what can be offered to you for Allstate voluntary benefits is pretty amazing. And when you think about it from a cost standpoint, it's employer subscribed, employer approved, but employee paid in a lot of cases. So it doesn't even have to come as a direct cost to your entity. But boy, for a lot of W-2 workers, being able to know that they can have these types of benefits can be a strong reason for them to be able to choose you. So anyway, something for you to be aware of. And then for third and finally, the last one I want to cover with you is business financing and banking. Again, all of this is easily accessible through the RSA website. We have helped a number of customers in a variety of ways. And I don't mean just doing a lease on software or equipment, but like non-collateralized operating loans. I had a business not too long ago that came to me and said, hey, do you have any idea what in the world I can possibly do? My banks have all of my assets, guarded against other loans that I have with them, but I'm in a real need, for operating capital. And we were able to help them. I believe that they got somewhere around $500,000 that really made a huge impact in their business. So just know that if you get to a place to where working capital, some cash flow management strategies, those kind of things, reach out to us and we'll be glad to help you determine if some of what we do would be a benefit to you. Also, as you guys probably know, RSA Solutions has been in the software business for quite some period of time. Beyond the products featured today of Production Coach and Planning Assistant, we do have other technologies that you may want to be aware of. Number one, our Estimator solution. Estimator is started off as a companion for on-screen takeoff to be able to take the quantitative data from digital takeoff and to be able to estimate. But Estimator has grown over time and now also allows you to have direct entry without import from on-screen takeoff. We have a technology called Project for those that need solutions for project management. By the way, be watching in your email. That will be the next webcast that we host coming up, and that is really becoming a big topic. Companies are realizing that there's a lot of balls up in there. There's people, there's tasks, there's timelines, there's just a number of things. So being able to have a system that can help you with full CRM functionality, with estimates and sales, and to be able to track projects all the way through is really a super big thing. And then finally, in addition again to Production Coach and Planning Assistant, we have Planity, which brings all together the materials and inventory that we need to be able to manage within our business. And of course, these solutions work extremely well together. Some of you are probably facing decisions today about, do I go out and purchase an ERP system? What do I do? Where do we go? Well, we can help you with those things. We also have taken a best-in-class approach, meaning that very modularly you can determine what is it that you want to do to improve your business and go get that running very, very quickly, and then being able to utilize the great return on investment from that to be able to fund the additional things that you might want to do in your business. So if you really kind of think about it, like what do I need to be able to do in my business? Do I need to manage projects? Yes. Do I need to be able to manage my capacity and my scheduling? Yes. Do I need to manage all my materials? Yes. Do I need to manage my manufacturing execution and all the way to the job shop or job site? If you do, then those are the kinds of solutions that RSA Solutions can help you with for sure. What I want to do is I want to take just a moment and give you a little thought before we get into the first product that we're going to cover today, which is Production Coach. And in Production Coach, I wanted to give you a couple of customer kind of white paper success stories that I think would be helpful for you. We pre-pandemic had done a good or a pretty large number of factory tours, and our customers have really appreciated being able to go see these things live. We hope to get back into that in 2022, and we scheduled a number of them, and one after another. Most of them ended up getting canceled, just COVID pop up or some kind of thing. So it's been a little bit more difficult. But I want to give you just a couple of tidbits, a couple of examples. First one, I'll tell you about a company out of Manhattan, Kansas. The name of it is Timberline Cabinetry and Millwork. Kent Swenson is the owner of it, and he was gracious enough to allow us to do a factory tour. And he did some kind of unique things during the tour. Not only did we get to see his immaculate and efficient factory, but he actually brought in a part-time or a temp helper that had never even seen his business before, and had that person doing scanning at our sorting operations, and everybody was amazed because it's difficult to be able to get people in our business and get them trained, and Production Coach really does an amazing job of being able to help you get people productive right off of the bat. But what I want you to get is this. He was asked at the end of the webcast, we often do an interview with the owner, and someone had asked him about the return on investment. And this was his answer. And by the way, I had to call him after the event and say, you have to explain this to me because it frankly sounds too good to be true. And I'm a salesperson. And so he did. And I became a believer in what he said. But he said, folks, here's the reality. Before Production Coach in our factory, we could throughput about 40 boxes a day. After we put in Production Coach, and bear in mind that we did not add a person, we did not add a square foot, and we did not add a piece of equipment, we can now throughput 100 cabinets a day. Well, it's a little bit difficult, and depending upon your product and stuff, to put an exact mark on that. I'm going to throw some general kinds of numbers to help you with some form of an ROI. So if the labor didn't increase, but the throughput did, that means that the additional 60 products that were able to be part of throughput actually didn't have additional labor. So that was already covered. So if we used a really rough number and said that a sale might be made up of 40% labor, 40% materials, and 20% profit, just as rough numbers, don't get caught up on it, but as rough numbers, that means on the initial 40 boxes that he was doing, he was making whatever, X times that 20%. And so that's pretty cool. However, if you think about it, the throughput increased by 60 boxes means that he literally only had the 40% of material going into those. So the profitability on the final 60 would be at 60% instead of 20%. And so you do the math on that and figure it out, but I can tell you that that equates to a very large number. It means that the software itself can pay for itself really, really quickly. I want to remind you of one other example of return on investment. I was out at Hiram, Utah, just north of Salt Lake City, at a really fabulous company called Homestead Cabinetry. They kind of have a unique business model that they don't ship anything anywhere near where they're at. So they're shipping into Denver, they're shipping into New York City, they're doing really high-end stuff. So getting everything to the job site was a really, really big deal for them for sure. And while I won't get into the ROI of that, they basically said that Clay Grover basically said it was amazing. We put in Production Coach, and our shipping tickets contained the barcode scans effectively displaying the time and date stamps of every single thing. It was amazing how our phones stopped ringing from the job site. That in itself could be a tremendous ROI. But he was asked a very specific question, and it was this: if you had it to do over again, would you buy Production Coach? And his words, which I heard with my ears, was almost exact. He said, this last year, we've done 10% more in sales than we did before, and we did it with 10 less people on the floor. With 10 less people on the floor. I didn't bother to ask, like, what is your common wage and those things. Well, it's just, use a rough number and say that, the cost fukified employee, whatever, for a labor on the floor, maybe it's $25,000 a year, and they did 10% more sales with 10 fewer people on the floor. So we know that there's $250,000 that came back to him just from the reduction of labor, plus that same labor was able to enable them to do 10% more, which they in fact would have then, by the same reasoning as we talked about with Timberline, would have had a 60% margin instead of a 20% margin on that. So really, really significant. And I think that if you interview other production coach customers, you're going to hear the same kinds of things. So I want to take and switch my screen around. I have this on PowerPoint, and make sure that you understand the functionality that is production coach, because sometimes people get hung up on, well, what can the software do? And, try to go through its features and advantages and benefits and all this kind of stuff. But where it really, really comes down to it is that this is intelligent data management utilizing barcodes. So possibly today, some of you may not be labeling, some of you may be labeling parts, but not including a barcode. But we want to look at ways that we can help your business if you do choose to utilize barcode. Whether you do that at part level tracking or at product level or project level, we can help you. But in today's world, I'm going to get all the way down to understanding at part level tracking. So the essence of what I say to them is, what do you want to have happen at a computer that has a barcode scanner, and you can have multiple computers in your factory? What do you want to have happen if you scan that barcode? So let's first look at a label itself. And so this is just an example of a customer label. For those of you who may not be using labels yet, there can be a lot of reasons beyond the barcode to begin labeling. I see lots of parts that people are marking on and all kinds of stuff, but the amount of information that a label can carry really is up to you. It's really nothing more than a report. And so being able to get information on that label that is going to help everyone downstream can really be a really good thing. So again, totally customizable. By the way, I think that it's obvious if it's not, but maybe I should state it, that in Production Coach, we are importing data from the leading CAD/CAM systems in the marketplace. And so as a result of that, we're able to use their unique IDs or their barcodes in working. So this can be really seamless and painless to be able to get your data from CAD/CAM directly into Production Coach and then ready to be used. So what are some of the common part label scan functions? You, of course, could scan and to be able to view the information about a part, whether it's size or it's material or whatever it is that you need to see about that. Anything that we were able to capture in the data, you could see, even to the point of being able to view the machining details of a part. I honestly have had people that have purchased Production Coach just so that they could have some stations on the shop floor, so that they scanned a barcode, they could see how it was supposed to be drilled and machined versus how it was done, just as a check. So you can do those things. You could also scan a barcode and change the status of a part. So maybe as an example, maybe at my first operation, which might be a CNC or panel saw or both, maybe I have a computer and a scanner, and I scan a part barcode, and it now has changed the status so that I know it's done at that operation. Or any other computer locations that you want to have on your factory to know how the part is flowing through. I'll pause for a moment and let you know that not only can we import the data readily, but we give you very easy ways to control the part routings that you have, so we know what parts need to go through which operations as well. So you can change a part status. You can also, and by the way, I've also had people purchase Production Coach just for this function, which is that you can scan a part barcode and you can generate a missing or damaged part alert, and to be able to affect the cause of it. And so that alert can immediately happen instead of someone out in the factory setting aside something that had a problem and they mean to get back to it after they get done doing their work and they carry that in. to the office or peel off a label or whatever it is. It can be immediate information, which, the sooner in process that we can discover that there's a problem, the less expensive and easier it is for us to be able to address, so that we make sure that it's not bogging down our factory. One of the things that Kent Swenson at Timberline Cabinetry had told me, that this function was a major factor in them being able to increase the throughput. So what was happening when they didn't know that they had missing or damaged parts? They'd go to put together a cabinet, discover that something was missing. The assembler would be looking for it at different, where is it? Did you make this part? I think I did, trying to find it. And eventually that person makes his way to the office or whatever to say, hey, I can't find this part. We got to remake it. They were literally expediting back out to have that part made, disrupting manufacturing. So if you think about it, in their nested-based world, that meant that the CNC operator needed to stop what he was doing, the work order he was on, and to be able to machine this part. That meant that he needed to stop also the edge bander and to be able to get it banded if it required horizontal boring, so on and so forth. So the factory was being disrupted. By utilizing our system, they were able to create a buffer between sorting and assembly, and to lump and manage all the damaged parts in one place. So lots of amazing things that you can do with that. You could scan a barcode and you could see the product related information. Maybe I want to know what other parts are also affected by this part. And so you have the ability to see full 3D of the product and all the related information about it. You could scan a part label that could generate then a product label. So why might I do that? Well, if I'm at assembly and I've got a stack of parts or a cubby of parts and I scan one of those, I could generate a product label. So when I build the product, now I could stick that label, for example, on its back or bottom or wherever you choose to do it. And when that would get scanned, then it could have a whole different set of functionality. Also, very, very big, the ability to scan a barcode and include something in a kit and to be able to generate then a kit label. Let me give you an example. Some of my customers don't assemble adjustable shelves. So at the end of edge banding, the last operation for those parts, they're scanning those parts, placing them onto a pallet, and when they've scanned them all, but we know that they're 100% completed, then boom, those might get wrapped, and another label generated, a kit label would be generated, so that when it would be scanned later on in operation, like it's staging or shipping, that it would be counting all of those items onto it. So really amazing feature. Also, one of the more famous features of Production Coach module that is called sorting enables, just from the scan of a barcode, to organize parts by product. And so that makes it really nice. We call that function sorting, so that you can 100% know prior to assembly that all the parts are available, or if they're not, you don't start building that and you're addressing what the issue is. And so that's an amazing feature that also goes into helping the throughput increase tremendously. You can also scan a part barcode, and you can group by part type, by material, by work order, by a number of ways. So there are literally just these functions that, I'm highlighting some of these, but just think of it this way. Don't worry about what Production Coach does. You just tell us, what do you want to have happen when you scan a barcode at a computer station that happens to have a scanner? What I want to do at one location might be very different than what I want to do at another. And you get to literally pick and select those things, and you don't have to worry about getting it all right when you start. The system is very configurable. So maybe you said, hey, I want to do this function, and this function at computer by the CNC, and then by assembly you wanted these other kinds of functions. You literally have the ability at any moment, any time, to be able to say, hey, I want to add a function, I want to remove a function, I want to change the way that a function works. And so it really is a matter of more deciding, hey, I want to get started, I want to take control of my manufacturing execution, I want these tools to be able to help me with unskilled new employees, I want it to coach me through the process and to be able to give me real great visibility as to where I'm at in production. Just real quick, this is an example of a really, really basic product label. Frankly, we can also, by the way, product labels and kit labels are generally generated by Production Coach. In a lot of cases, or most cases, your CAD/CAM system is generating your part labels. And so literally, again, it's just a report, and we can configure whatever data that was available in the import to be included. But the big point here is that we have a barcode that now we can scan and have different kinds of functions. Here are also a couple of examples of what I call kit labels. So on the left-hand side of things, I am showing an example, like I described earlier, for creating a kit. While there might be a number of adjustable shelves, we'll see in this case that there's actually 12 adjustable shelves that were scanned into a kit. Or on the right-hand side, you'll see that there's a different label that is showing that they're palletized. So for some of our customers, after they've assembled the cabinet, that cabinet might get placed onto a pallet along with other cabinets. Because we don't pre-know the order, they're scanned as they're placed onto it, and then boom, a kit is generated and a label for the pallet. So maybe it gets wrapped, and then we're placing a label with barcode. In both of these cases, if I scan the barcode, it's going to count the items that were included in the kit. So we call that grouping management. So now that we move to products, kits, and work orders, here's a few things you can also do. So maybe at the first operation, if it was nesting, maybe I don't want to scan every individual part, but I could scan a barcode of the nest pattern and update all of those parts, and only need to scan an individual part if, for example, it moved or was damaged in process. I can scan a product barcode and change the status. Maybe I want to know that the cabinet has been built, and assembled. Maybe I want to know that it's been through final assembly. Maybe I want to know that it's been staged. Maybe I want to know that it's been loaded onto the truck, so it can change the status of them as well. I could scan a product barcode and also include it in a kit and generate a label as I showed on the palletization label just a moment ago. I could scan a product barcode and create a damaged product alert as well, and to be able to then select all the way down to a part that might need to be done or all of the parts. I could scan a product barcode and stage it into a warehouse location. I could load it onto the truck, get time and date stamped to know that we never, close the truck door without having 100% accuracy of shipment. By the way, that's another giant feature that I've had companies that have purchased Production Coach just for that one feature. I don't know what it costs you to have inaccurate shipments, but I can tell you this much. I've been in a lot of factories, a lot of board meetings, and if I ask whether or not they have any issues with shipping accuracy, if I'll just be quiet for a moment, the room eventually erupts, because we know that it's very difficult. It may not just be cabinets, it might be hardware bags, it might be molding bundles, it might be seam fill, whatever it is. We can help you make sure that all of those items are on the truck and that you ship super accurate. I would take a moment and give a credit to someone. I was at a seminar one time, actually in Montreal, and a gentleman that was speaking in front of 100, 150 people, something like that, had a little whiteboard, and he had nothing written on it when he started. And when he began, he drew $1 sign, and he said, friends, this is what it costs when we make an error in estimation. Underneath that, he made $2 signs, and he says, this is what it costs when engineering has discovered the error, or we've made an error in engineering. He made $3 signs below that, and he said, this is what it costs when our error problem is discovered in production. And then he made a number of dollar signs below that, and he said, and this is the cost if the error is discovered at the customer. And so I think we all know that some of the most expensive labor that we have is at install, and certainly can hold up finishing of a job. It could cause us all kinds of havoc trying to find things, expedite things, remanufacture things. So getting it loaded onto the truck perfectly is a big deal. We could also scan a work order barcode when we're not even working with part labels. This can be a good thing for operations such as solid wood. We have a number of customers that are building things like doors and face frames that they may not even have parts, but they want to know that these things have been happening. So maybe in a rough mill, maybe I have a straight line rip, or I have cross cut, or I have assembly, maybe I have sanding, or through finish or whatever, that I may not have appropriateness to have part barcodes. So we can have a work order barcode that can allow you to know when something has started at an operation and also when it has ended at an operation. So this image you also see from our website. It is what we call the 3D factory. And I just want to take a quick moment to talk to you about this, and also what we reference as our new customer bundle for Production Coach. While it can deviate to a degree, we have developed a recipe to be able to help people get tremendous benefit from it, but being able to make it so that it's simple enough and easy enough to quickly integrate into virtually any factory environment. So you'll notice the #1 depiction in the bottom left of the screen. That is meant to depict the office, and so generally there is a license in the office, and that license usually is importing work orders from CAD/CAM software, whether that's Mosaic or Cabinavision or Microvellum or whatever it is that you're doing. They are importing work orders directly into the system, which is literally press a button, import, select it, boom, it's available in the system. They might also, though, be attaching documentation. You would imagine that we can have a paperless factory to where literally you press a button and now the documents for the order are available on demand any place. Maybe even in the office, we're creating the packing list or whatever operations that you would be doing, and possibly in some cases then catching the damaged part alerts coming from the factory. #2 is meant to depict first operation, and it's really common, not required, but it's really common for our customers to want to know when work orders have started in production, and really giving them a good clue when it's begun, a little better communication, not only internally but out to customers as well. And so it's pretty common, especially in nested-based operations, to have a station at the CNC, which, by the way, could tell you when work orders started, could allow you to scan the nest and be updating not just the overall work order of start and stop, but the real progress of it without having to scan every part. And then, of course, managing damaged parts. I'm not saying that your CNC has parts that move, but it seems like a reasonable majority of the damaged parts could occur at that first operation. #3 is meant to depict that you do not have to have a computer or a license of Production Coach everywhere. It's only at the areas that you find to be most important, and I would actually encourage you to think about starting with a smaller, more manageable, quicker to implement strategy of Production Coach, and then expand it, which, by the way, expansion is super easy. You call up and say, hey, Sean, I want 2 more stations. Great. Here's your proposal. In a couple of moments, you have it, the license, and we help you configure it, and you're ready to expand it. So don't get caught up thinking that you got to have it everywhere. There are some operations that bring more value than others. Here's the way I look at it. If I scan a barcode, if I'm going to take the effort to scan a barcode, am I getting enough value to be worth the time and effort to scan? So just be thinking that maybe you choose not at edge banding or horizontal boring, but you can choose and have them any place that you possibly want. #4 is meant to depict the module called sorting, and it's really a powerful one, especially for those that are building frameless cabinets and doing reasonable size batches. Seems when we survey customers, they tend to batch 30 to 40 boxes. Let's use a median and say 35, 10 parts per cabinet. That's like 350 parts that are flowing through manufacturing. So instead of having piles and stacks and trying to get a lot of touches to it, literally scan a part barcode and the system will organize it by product, and that makes it just super amazing so that assembly can see exactly what's ready to build. And if we look at item number 5, that is depicting assembly. Some people do a case assembly and a finish assembly, up to you. By the way, on number 4, sorting, that often is even, doesn't have to just be everything sorted at once, one place. We have customers that do sorting in different ways. So they might sort cases separately from doors, might be separate from drawers, might be separate from base assemblies. We can synchronize and bring all of this together for your operation. And then on number 5, man, they pull some parts from a bin knowing that they were all there. They scan a part barcode, and now they see a full 3D assembly. They have the ability to hide parts, have all kinds of controls with the assembly. It can optionally give them instructions about what tools that they might need or whatever it is. Some really powerful things for advanced after initial system is in, but it will update then the status of that product to let you know it was assembled. It will generate a product label, all kinds of amazing things. And then number 6 is to depict that for many of our customers, they want to stage orders to know that they have everything maybe a day before the truck's going to be there, that everything is in place, and everybody in the factory knows where that order is being staged. It becomes very obvious that it is in a particular location that is defined, and so you can know what's missing from it, and if you have something part of it, know exactly where to go to find that. And then 7, of course, is the actual shipping. And again, we want to make sure that 100% of the time we know that when we shut that truck door that we have the load 100% perfect. By the way, that also includes not being able to scan items onto the truck that are not part of the packing list. So we can really make it simple for your team to be able to have accurate shipments. And then finally, number 8, that we usually leave to kind of an advanced second phase for it, but it is at the job site. We can actually help you by extending the functionality via the web, and so they could be scanning at delivery or installation, whether that's just to be able to receive, to be able to deal with damaged parts, or to know the status of something. We can definitely also help you with job site tracking. The new customer bundle, by the way, really good timing for you to be on this. If you're considering an improvement to your factory, we have now through the end of the year a really special offer, 10% off of the product price will expire on December 31st. I can't extend it. I've already made the deal, and but we have it available through December 31st. Generally, what it contains is a link to your CAD/CAM system. It usually includes 5 or 6 licenses. Maybe we put one at 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7, or whatever it is that you choose to do with that. And so we can help customize that a little bit, but really a configuration like that for a new customer bundle can be really helpful. It has the import to your CAD/CAM. It has a sorting module with it. If you don't need to sort, then it can save you a few bucks. But anyway, we'd be glad to help you get something put together so you could evaluate for potential end-of-year purchase. By the way, production code planning assistant qualify under tax rule 179 savings, so you can do full depreciation within the tax year. Just so you know, there are some additional modules that I think about for like second or third phase. We talked a little bit about job site tracking, where you could extend the functionality via the web to be able to know when things were unloaded or install process. But there are also other things. For example, we have a customer portal. Means that when you import an order, you could assign a customer email address that by your definition, they could be getting an update via email and access to a portal to see just their order in its progress, so that they're not calling you to wonder where it is. It's really configurable. It could be one alert and they get the portal and they just see the updates, or you could have specific stages that you're in that they're receiving an additional email alert, more like an Amazon type experience. We also have what's called the business intelligence dashboard. Think of the major KPIs that you might have within your business, things that you want to be able to track and see in a really visual way. configurable and very, very helpful to be able to see bottlenecks and where are constraints within factory, to know and visualize things like, are we on target for the number, or the production capacity or the production goals that we have compared to what we're done. So just a number of things to help with tempo and visibility through the business intelligence dashboard. And we also have, for some are really keen on it, is timekeeping. So web-based timekeeping unlimited, so it can help you not only in your factory, but could have helped you with other kinds of things, maybe even pre-production or post-production that you want to be able to track time for. So that's just a little bit of a example of some of the things that you can do with Production Coach. I'm going to flip this status over to planning and scheduling. So I do see that there have been some questions. Well, thought I saw questions. So I want to pause for a moment and say, hey, you know what? If you've got questions and you haven't asked them yet, get them in so that we make sure that we can get them answered before the webcast is over. So I'm going to see if I can pop this out. Show answer question. How do we customize our current labels? We are having issues with the barcodes for edge boring not working or being too small. So first of all, in general, if we're talking about part labels, I said in general that we utilize the labels that are from your CAD/CAM system, but I do want you to know that we also have a system for those that are doing nested-based manufacturing called Smart Labels on Demand, and it has some functionality that would be beyond, for example, if we're talking about Cabinet Vision, a Label It or Microvellum Alice, that can really have some amazing features. And then we have some ability to be able to control what is contained within the label. Because that was a little bit generic for it, I'm not sure that I really gave you a good answer for what you're looking for, but please know that you always have the ability at the RSA Solutions website to be able to reach out and connect with us. So you can schedule literally directly on my Calendly a call so we can do one-on-one. You can email us, you can text us, or you can call us, whichever way, and we'll be glad to help with that. As I was saying, though, I'm not seeing other questions popping up, so I'm either doing a really great job at answering all your questions, or I'm doing a horrible job that is not giving you enough information for what you need. I want to introduce to you Planning Assistant and to let you know, first of all, that the core functionality of the software is to be able to help you maximize your production capacity. So yes, it is dealing with scheduling. Yes, it is dealing with capacity planning. And so how does this all work? And the answer will be a little bit dependent upon, is this standalone that you have Planning Assistant and not Production Coach, or is it a companion of Production Coach? If it's a companion of Production Coach, easily you have the ability, when you've imported an order, to be able to give it your preferred date that you would like to do a big event by. Maybe that's shipping or delivery or something. And then you have the ability to create more than one type of back scheduling method. So maybe you have a back scheduling method for, an HPL/melamine kind of boxes going through. Maybe you have a different one if it's going to require some finish, because maybe we got to send stuff to the rough mill way ahead of time and finishing so that everything meets up. It really gives you some amazing tools to be able to utilize the data directly from your CAD/CAM system and with Production Coach in order to be able to manage schedule. There's a display on the calendar for the work order as a whole, and we'll see some screenshots as I move down. So you'll see here is a view of the calendar with work orders. So you're able to have these various calendar views that you're displaying. So multi-work orders, being able to display and have a legend or color coding that is actually telling you what is the status of the order. So instead of having to go into a production coach license and click on the status to see where a particular order is, you have the ability to see your factory overall and all the work orders and their statuses as well. And so you really can, plan your production, and the system will also display for you whether you have put load on the system above or below your productivity goals, and that can be as finite as you want, down to a station. So let me just give you an example. Let's say that I have a CNC and I've set my productivity goals to be between 60 and 80 sheets a day. If I've only put a load on the system that's going to be 40 sheets, it's going to alert me that I am less than optimal the amount of productivity that is in schedule. So maybe I can move something up in schedule or whatever I do. The same thing would happen in reverse. If I had loaded, for example, 100 sheets into it, it would be alerting me to let me know that I'm over capacity. So I'm either going to have to, do overtime and work extra hours, or I need to be able to move something. So this can give you a view for any such operations. But what I will tell you in reality is that most find that they have particular constraints or bottlenecks, and they work and schedule to those things. This is a very, very fast to implement technology, and again, could be your first choice. Maybe you say, hey, I want to just be able to start with planning a system, be up and running in just a couple of days. Then without even importing into Production Coach, you're able to say, hey, I've got an order, this is what its name is, and I want it to follow a particular back scheduling method. This is the dates that I want to use, and let's go. And so you would have the ability to do that and still be able to define for that order, for example, numbers of sheets, number of products, number of parts. Maybe you don't have all the engineering done, but you want to start tracking and working with your schedule of, again, pre-production items, production items, or even post-production items can be there to help you as you're moving along. In additional things to be able to see down to the operations. So as an example, I might say that when I first put in an order or import an order, I want it to display in white, to let it know that it's ready for production, but we haven't started. But maybe I've defined that I have a license at CNC, and so when the order is complete at CNC, I want its color to change even on the calendar to, for example, blue, or maybe when it's sorted, I want it to be yellow. Maybe when it's assembled, I want it to be green, or whatever it is that you want to do. So it becomes really easy and obvious to be able to see not only your productivity goals compared to the load you put on the system, but what is the status of everything in your factory. I just want to move to the video section of this. I don't know whether we were right or wrong, but what I can tell you is this. We have chosen to publish a vast number of videos covering these technologies. And so if you spend any time on our website, you'll have plenty of materials to be able to view in order to be able to get a good experience for those things. So I do see that I got some questions. I'm going to figure out how to pop this thing out of here because its display is too small for me to see. Drawing tools, like another 10 presenter. Sorry, I'll get to this in a second. They changed my window just a little bit, and I don't want to miss anyone's question. Okay, shipping schedule by day. Will the system produce multiple departmental level schedules? For example, CNC schedule as well as the shipping schedule. So this is a calendar, and being in a calendar, you can look at it from a 30-day, a week view, a day view, whatever you want, and you have the ability to have a calendar view that can be for the whole factory. It could be, in your example, just the CNC, what they're doing, just what shipping is doing. And so, yes, I believe that I'm answering your question, I hope precisely. But yes, while it is a calendar view for it. We think about all these things being available to view on demand, and you definitely would be able to make it so that, in your example, that the CNC guy is only seeing his schedule for the day. He doesn't have to worry about what's happening in shipping. So it works much like if you've ever used like Google Calendar, to where you're able to have a virtually unlimited number of calendar views that you're able to see exactly what's happening. So I hope that that helps a little bit. Let me see what else I might have missed. It's not letting me pop out. I will relearn how to make this pop out before then. Oh, there it is. It was right in front of me and I couldn't see it. Very good. How would you be able to track individual parts and pieces for things you cannot put a sticker on, like hinges, individual hardware, shelf pins, and similar products like that? So what happens in a lot of cases is, like whether we're talking about hardware, maybe molding bundles, or even hardwoods, maybe we're talking about in the mill. There are times where you just do not have the ability to have part labels on something. So, for example, I sure wouldn't want to put part labels on hinges or door slides or those things that might go into a pack. But what you can do is that you can create a kit so that you're, in fact, putting together all of those things and then generating a kit label for those, so that when they do get assembled, put over in staging. So maybe I put, for example, a bag of hardware inside of a cabinet. So now I might have a kit inside of a kit, and to be able to generate a barcode for that and to know that it's accounted for. So keep in mind this: we give you the ability to work with part labels, we give you the ability to work with product labels, we give you the ability to work with kits, and we give you the ability to work with work orders. And so, for example, in the solid wood area for it, I might just generate from Production Coach 2 barcodes, one that's telling me I'm starting on this work order, and then another barcode telling me that I have finished at that particular station, so that I know it's done. I hope that that answers your question, but again, to everyone who asked a question, if I didn't answer it perfectly, just click on the link for my Calendly, and we'll schedule a call and we'll go through with enough depth to make sure that your question is answered. I am looking for questions. How much? Okay, well, this comes up often. Production Coach is really configurable. So it's based normally on the number of licenses, meaning the installs of various computers that you need, and then the modules that you might want. So maybe you want to link to your CAD CAM, maybe you want sorting, maybe you want job site tracking. So those things go together, and so we give you an all-inclusive price that is not only for the software, but also for the training, implementation, and first year, both support and upgrades. And then it's very similar with Planning Assistant as well, is that you determine the number of unique email logins that you want for Planning Assistant. Some, I believe, get benefit from starting with a small minimal number like 3 and get it up and running, and then determine how many unique entries that they actually need in their factory. Simple to drop a little request to us, and we'll start putting together some budgetary information and go over that with you so that you can be confident. But here's the beauty. Think of it this way. Always choose the minimal amount of whatever it is that you're getting, because it's easily expandable. And to tell you the truth, sometimes you don't know what you're possibly going to want or need until you have it. And in converse, I'll give you examples. In the early days, we might have companies that say, hey, I want 15 licenses. And when I look back at their system, they really only needed 12. But we didn't know that till, a month or 5 months or whatever it was down the road. And so they got these licenses that are setting, idle. So I like to start with some major wins. Like, what do we want to accomplish? I want to go paperless. I want to manage my damaged parts. I want to organize my sorting. I want to ship 100% accurate. I want to manage my scheduling, or whatever it is that you want to do. Let's hit those hot things that can make a tremendous difference in your business and go from there. I don't have more questions that have popped up, and I see that we're almost at the very top of the hour. So let me say this. We covered a lot of things today. Don't let it be overwhelming. Don't worry about what the technology does. Just think about what it is that you want to happen in your factory, and let us help you come up with a strategy for being able to do that. Let's make it simple, and let's get you up and going with a faster ROI. I know people are weighing, ERP systems. They may take a year or 2 years, or have to have dedicated people, IT people, all kinds of things. Think of it this way. Best-in-class solutions that are highly modular and configurable, that talk to each other in a very seamless way. I think you'll find some great benefit from that. And I want to thank you again for taking the time to join us today. Please do look out for future webcasts hosted by RSA Solutions. If I don't get a chance to talk to you before, I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you, take care, and God bless.